I didn't find out in a movie way. It was a normal night, my phone at 5%, thumb hovering over delete, because I was tired of rereading our arguments like they were homework. Then a message popped up from a name I'd never seen, not a number. An actual contact saved with a little heart. One line, same place as last time, I miss you. For a second, my brain tried to protect me. Maybe it was spam. Maybe it was old. Maybe it was meant for someone else. That's what I always did with them. I bent reality until it fit the version of my ex who was sweet, honest, not like that. But the timestamp was tonight, and right above it in our chat was my ex telling me they were going to sleep early, that they needed space, that they couldn't handle drama. I stared so hard my eyes watered. Innocent people don't need cover stories. Innocent people don't keep two worlds from touching. My hands were shaking when I took the screenshot. And the worst part is, AB almost deleted the one thing that proved it. Let me rewind. This hit me like a truck right then, too. I know what you're thinking. Okay, so your ex got a message. But this isn't just tea. It's about how someone can look harmless, even fragile, while quietly building a whole hidden life behind your back. And the scary part is how normal it feels while you're inside it. In this story, I'm going to walk you through the exact pattern. The innocent image they sold, the tiny contradictions I explained away, the moments that made me doubt my own memory, and the one detail that finally snapped everything into focus. Not so you can relive my mess, so you can recognize the moves before you waste months or years defending the wrong person. Because I did defend them. I made excuses. I argued with my friends. I told myself I was being mature, when really I was being trained to ignore my instincts. If you've ever thought, they're messy but harmless, please listen to this part. It started so convincingly. I'll rewind to the beginning, how we met, why I trusted them, and why I didn't see the mask until it cracked. Back then, the timing felt like fate. I'd just come out of a rough stretch where I promised myself I'd stop chasing mixed signals. I wasn't looking for anything serious. And that's exactly when my ex appeared, calm, soft-spoken, almost painfully polite. They listened the way people in movies listen, eye contact, little nods, remembering details I didn't realize I'd said out loud. They told me early I hate drama. I'm not into games. And because I was exhausted, that sentence sounded like safety. They didn't love bomb with big gestures. They showed up with small consistency. Good morning texts, checking if I got home, asking about my family like it mattered. When they talked about past relationships, they always sounded wounded, misunderstood. My exes always assumed the worst, they'd say, shrugging like it was a curse they couldn't shake. I bought it. I became the person who said, "No, you don't get it. They're actually a good person." I liked feeling like the calm place they could land. But even in the beginning, there was this tiny splinter I couldn't name. A pause before answering simple questions. A story that changed by one detail. The way their phone would flip face down like a reflex, even when nothing was happening. I didn't call it a red flag. I called it privacy. I called it trauma. I called it me being paranoid. And they leaned into that, always playing the gentle one, the victim, the person everyone judged too quickly. I fell for it completely. They weren't selling love. They were selling a storyline. The storyline was simple. They were the good one in every situation. The person who got hurt, who got used, who got misread. They had this soft, careful way of speaking that made you feel like raising your voice would be a crime. When friends asked questions, my ex would smile and say, "I'm not perfect, but I'd never cheat." I've seen what that does to people, and I believed it because it sounded like a principle, not a defense. They curated innocence in little moments, too. If someone flirted with them, they'd roll their eyes and show me the message like, "See? I'm transparent." If an ex popped up, it was always, "They're obsessed with me, it's weird." If plans changed, it was, "I didn't want to disappoint you." Everything was framed as them trying, them coping, them being the bigger person. Looking back, it's wild how much of it was performance. The "I hate drama" line meant, "Don't question me." The "my exes are crazy" stories meant, "Preload you to doubt anyone who warns you." The public sweetness meant, "No one will believe you if you ever speak up." Even the vulnerability felt strategic, like it was there to make me protective, and it worked. I remember thinking, finally, someone safe, someone who wouldn't make me compete, wouldn't disappear for days, and wouldn't punish me for asking basic questions either. I became their translator. I explained their mood swings. I defended their silences. I filled in gaps they never had to explain, but a persona can only hold for so long. Then little things started happening that didn't fit the character they were playing. Tiny, explainable things, until they weren't. At first, it was the phone thing. We'd be laughing on the couch, and the second a notification hit, they'd tilt the screen away like it was instinct. "It's work," they'd say, even at midnight. I told myself I was being insecure. Everyone deserves privacy. Then there were the stories that didn't match. One week they said they never go out, they're a homebody. The next week a bartender greeted them like a regular, and my ex acted surprised, like the world was just small. I swallowed the discomfort and called it coincidence. The defensiveness was the weirdest part, because it came out of nowhere. I'd ask something harmless, "Who were you with?" And suddenly I was interrogating them, apparently. Their voice would go soft, wounded. "Why don't you trust me?" And I'd end up apologizing for a question that should been normal in a relationship. Once, we ran into someone who looked too familiar. The person smiled, then glanced at me, then back at my ex with this quick, knowing pause. My ex pulled me away fast and said, "That's just someone from my past. Don't make it a thing." I didn't make it a thing. I wanted to be the chill partner they always claimed their exes weren't. And there were these tiny lies that felt too pointless to be lies. Saying they were stuck in traffic when the location showed them still at home. Claiming they fell asleep when they were clearly active online. Little edits to reality, like they were practicing. I even caught myself rehearsing what to say before I asked anything. Like my tone mattered more than the truth, and that should scared me. Each red flag had an excuse. Stress, trauma, bad memory, me overthinking. But the excuses started stacking into a pattern. Hide, deny, reverse it, and make me feel guilty for noticing. That's when it stopped feeling like confusion and started feeling like control. Once the pattern set in, the relationship stopped feeling like two people learning each other and started feeling like me taking a test I could never pass. If I asked for clarity, I was accusing. If I stayed quiet, I was cold. Somehow every path led to me apologizing. They began rewriting things in real time. I'd say, "You told me you were going to sleep," and they'd look at me like I was making it up. "No," I said I might. "Why are you twisting my words?" Then they'd soften, touch my hand, and act concerned. "Are you okay lately? You seem anxious." I'd walk away questioning my own memory. scrolling back through messages like I was collecting proof for court. Questions became punishable. A simple, "Who was that?" could buy me a day at Lyland's, or a sudden argument about how I never let them breathe. Meanwhile, they'd do the opposite. Ask where I was, who I was with, why I took so long to reply. It was subtle, disguised as care, until it wasn't. My friends started noticing I was disappearing. When they invited me out, my ex would get overwhelmed or suddenly need me. If I went anyway, the mood at home would turn icy. Eventually, I stopped going, because peace felt like the reward for obedience, and there was always just a friend. The person they swore was nothing. The one they defended hardest. The one who somehow stayed in the center of every disagreement. If I felt uncomfortable, I was jealous. If I didn't, I was mature. Either way, they kept the connection. I kept telling myself, they're calm, they're honest, I'm lucky. But calm can be a costume, and honesty can be a script. I was busy managing their mood that I didn't notice my world getting smaller every week. And then they made one mistake, one tiny detail they couldn't keep straight. The mistake didn't look like a mistake at first. They told me they were at their cousin's place. No signal. Phone dying, the whole innocent routine. So when I saw them active online, green dot, 2:13 a.m., get angry. I got that cold, quiet feeling like my body noticed before my brain did. The next morning they volunteered a story before I asked. I crashed early. I was exhausted. But they'd also mentioned casually that their cousin's house was out in the country. No Wi-Fi, no service. Yet the app showed them online for almost an hour, and the location tag on a photo they'd sent me days earlier suddenly made sense. Same street name, different city. I stared at my screen, then at them, and I could hear two voices in my head. One saying, "Don't be paranoid. You'll ruin everything." The other saying, "If you let this slide, you'll be living in their version of reality forever." I almost confronted them right there, receipt in hand, heart pounding. But I remembered how every question turned into me being crazy, so I did the one thing I'd never done before. I got quiet. I started paying attention. I stopped filling in blanks for them. I saved screenshots. I checked dates. I compared what they said to what happened. For once, I trusted myself fully. I didn't go looking for drama. I went looking for the truth, and I found receipts. After I went quiet, everything got louder. I stopped trying to win arguments and started tracking reality. I scrolled through our old chats like I was rereading a book where the ending had been spoiled, and suddenly the same excuses jumped off the screen. I fell asleep. My phone died. I was with family, always right after I asked for something basic. I opened my calendar and started matching it to what they'd told me. The night they couldn't come over because they were sick was the same night they posted a blurry story from a bar, cropped so tight you could not see who they were with. The weekend they were off the grid, lined up with a concert they'd sworn they didn't even like. I searched the venue tags and found a photo from that night. My ex's jacket was in the corner. Same stain, no denying it. That led me to a profile I did not recognize. I clicked, scrolled, and felt my stomach drop again and again. The comments were too familiar. Inside jokes. The same pet name my ex used for me, typed under someone else's selfie like it belonged there. Even the language matched. My ex had a pattern. The same emojis. The same, "I'm just being honest" disclaimer before saying something cruel. Then I noticed how they managed me. When I got upset, they used the same apology template. "I understand why you feel that way. a promise to do better, and then a sudden crisis that made me comfort them. A friend trying to help showed me an old screenshot from a different relationship of theirs. Same lines, different person, same play. I compared our call logs to the gaps in their stories. Every time they vanished for an hour, there was a neat explanation waiting, except the explanations overlapped. At work overlapped with at my cousin's. Asleep overlapped with being active online. Finally, I asked a mutual casually if they knew the person from those tags. There was a pause on the other end that told me everything before the words did. I thought you knew, they said. They've been around for a while. That sentence rewrote months. All the tiny contradictions I'd swallowed were suddenly evidence, and the innocent persona started looking carefully engineered too. I was not uncovering a single lie. I was uncovering a system designed to keep me calm, confused, and compliant. That's when I realized this wasn't one lie. It was a whole system. The core secret was simple, and that's what made it so brutal. I wasn't their partner. I was their cover. While they were building this innocent, misunderstood image with me, they were maintaining a full relationship with someone else. Dates, pet names, future plans, the whole thing. Not talking, not a mistake. A second life that ran alongside mine, like train tracks that never touched, because they worked hard to keep me from looking out the window. Remember when they said they hated drama and needed peace? That was code for don't ask questions while I managed 2 schedules. Remember the cousin's house with no signal? That was a sleepover at their place. Remember the phone face down, the sudden battery deaths, the defensiveness over just a friend? Those weren't quirks. Those were safeguards. Even the way they made me feel guilty was part of it. If I doubted them, I became the unstable one. If I asked for reassurance, I was clingy. Meanwhile, they were reassuring someone else with the same words they used on me, copying and pasting affection like it was customer service. The most humiliating part wasn't that I missed it. It was that I was recruited into it. I defended them to my friends. I explained their disappearances. I softened their contradictions. I helped keep their story clean. Once I saw the overlap, dates, tags, the mutuals pause, it clicked. They didn't just lie to hide something. They lied to keep 2 versions of themselves alive. The innocent partner for me, and the real one somewhere else. And once you see that, you realize the sweetness wasn't love, it was camouflage. The innocence was strategy, not personality anymore. I thought the reveal would end it. It actually triggered the scariest part. I waited until we were alone, because part of me still wanted to give them a way to tell the truth. My hands were steady, but my chest wasn't. I opened my phone, slid it across the table and said, "Explain this." The screenshot was simple. The message, the heart next to the name, the timestamp, and "they're going to sleep" text to me right above it. No context to argue with, just reality. They didn't even look at it at first, they looked at me. "You went through my phone," they said, loud enough to make it the new problem. I told them I didn't. Then came the pause, the fake laugh. "That's nothing. You're reading into it." When I didn't back down, the story changed. "It's an old friend." Then, "Okay, we talked once, but it was before you." Then, "Why are you acting like I'm some villain?" Each sentence was a door they tried to close in my face. Next came the tears, fast, dramatic, like a switch. "I can't believe you think I'd hurt you. After everything I've been through." They reached for my hand, called me baby. Promised therapy, promised transparency. promised anything that might rewind time. And when I still didn't fold, the sweetness disappeared. They got cold. You're not perfect either, they snapped. You're insecure, you push people away. This is why my exes went crazy. It was like watching someone cycle through costumes, looking for the one that would control the room. I wish I could say I stayed calm. I didn't. I shook. I cried. But I kept the screenshot up, like a flashlight in the dark. Just answer, I said. Who are they? They stared at the table, and in that silence I got my answer. Because guilty people don't confess. They negotiate until you doubt what you saw. But here's the part I didn't plan for. The truth didn't stay private. Within a week, the story they built started collapsing. One mutual messaged me, then another, both asking the same question. Are you still with them? Turns out I wasn't the only one holding a version of the truth. Screenshots got compared. Timelines got lined up. The same pet names showed up in different chats. And once two people compare notes, the innocent mask doesn't survive. I didn't blast them online. It spread faster than expected. Their own contradictions did the talking. The calm persona became frantic, and the victim act stopped working when receipts were shared privately. That's when I felt my nervous system unclench. If you take anything from this, let it be this: trust patterns, not promises. If the facts keep shifting, believe the shift. Don't shrink your world to keep someone comfortable. Keep your friends close. And keep proof when you feel crazy. Tell me in the comments, when did the mask slip for you? If you want part 2, the exact signs I'll never ignore again, tell me.